Avoidants move through breakups like ghosts, calm, composed, and eerily unfazed. They walk away with this quietness that makes you feel like your tears never touched them, like your pain barely grazed their surface, like nothing inside them cracked when everything inside you shattered. They look steady while you're trembling, collected while you're breaking, almost peaceful while you're drowning in the loss. And it hurts, because it tricks you into believing you never mattered at all. But what most women don't know is this: avoidants don't feel guilt immediately. They feel it on delay. And the reason why they feel it on delay is because avoidant attachment creates psychological defenses so powerful that immediate emotional processing is impossible. Their nervous system floods with relief after separation, temporarily drowning out any guilt or loss under waves of freedom and autonomy restoration, while their cognitive defenses immediately construct narratives that justify the ending and minimize their role in causing pain, meaning the guilt and realization of what they've destroyed can't break through until those initial defenses weaken over weeks or months, which only happens when the relief fades and reality sets in. That distance didn't solve their problems and that they lost something irreplaceable, making delayed guilt not a choice, but a neurological inevitability of how avoidant nervous systems process relationship loss and their role in it. This is the truth about avoidant breakups that most women never understand. The calm isn't proof they don't care. It's proof their defenses are working exactly as designed to protect them from feeling the magnitude of what they've done until those defenses inevitably crack under the weight of accumulated loss and delayed reality. Most relationship advice assumes people feel guilt and regret immediately after causing pain. But with avoidance, emotional processing happens on a completely different timeline, with breaking points that arrive weeks or months after the relationship ends. The painful truth is that many women never see the avoidance breaking point because by the time it arrives, they've already moved on and rebuilt their lives, meaning the avoidance eventual realization happens too late to matter. Hi, I'm Gabriel Hart from My Daily Love, and in this video we'll talk about the 9 stages avoidants go through when they finally realize they've destroyed your heart and what their breaking point actually looks like. Stage number 1. The calm feels wrong. The first stage after destroying your heart is when the calm feels wrong. At first, they tell themselves they did the right thing, but silence starts to feel heavier than peace, and something is missing, because the relief they expected to bring lasting comfort instead brings an unsettling emptiness they can't quite explain. Think of this stage like the immediate aftermath where defenses are working perfectly, but something underneath feels off. They wanted peace and got silence. They wanted freedom and got emptiness. The calm doesn't feel quite right, even though they can't articulate why. In the beginning, they're telling themselves all the right stories. I needed space. The relationship was too much. I'm better off alone. This was the right decision. These narratives provide temporary comfort and justify their choice to end things or push you away. But underneath the justifications, something feels wrong. The silence isn't peaceful. It's heavy. The space they craved doesn't bring relief. It brings absence. They notice the missing more than they notice the freedom, even if they're not ready to admit it yet. This stage is characterized by subtle discomfort that hasn't yet broken through to conscious awareness. They might feel vaguely unsettled, slightly off, aware that something isn't quite right, even though their defenses are still firmly telling them they made the correct choice. The wrongness of the calm is the first crack in their defenses. If freedom and distance were truly what they needed, the calm would feel good. The fact that it feels wrong, heavy, empty, unsettling, is their nervous system beginning to signal that they made a mistake. From what I've seen, this stage lasts anywhere from a few days to a few weeks, depending on how strong their defenses are and how significant the relationship was. The stronger the connection, the faster the calm starts feeling wrong. Stage number 2. Your absence hits their nervous system. Here's when the breaking point begins to build. Your absence hits their nervous system. They're used to solitude, but now it feels hollow, because your energy once regulated their chaos, and now they sit in the echo of it, creating a neurological recognition that this isn't normal solitude, but actual loss. Think of this stage like their body recognizing something before their mind will admit it. Avoidants are comfortable with being alone. They prefer solitude to overwhelming connection, but this feels different. This feels like something essential is missing, rather than like peaceful independence. They're used to solitude, but this particular emptiness is foreign. When they were alone before, they felt content, regulated at peace. But now the aloneness feels hollow. There's a quality to the silence that's different from their usual comfortable independence. What they're experiencing is the absence of your regulatory presence. Your energy, your warmth, your presence in their life was actually helping regulate their nervous system in ways they never acknowledged or appreciated. Now that you're gone, they feel dysregulated in ways they can't explain. This is particularly significant because avoidants pride themselves on not needing others for regulation. They believe they're self-sufficient, but your absence is proving that you were actually providing something essential they didn't recognize while they had it. They sit in the echo of what you provided. Moments when your presence would have soothed them, times when your energy would have grounded them, situations where your warmth would have comforted them, all absent now, leaving only echo and emptiness. This stage is when their body starts sending stronger signals that something is wrong, even if their mind is still defending the decision to end things. The nervous system recognizes loss before cognitive awareness catches up. Now please keep in mind, this isn't about making them suffer. It's about letting natural consequence teach what comfort never could. Your absence becomes the mirror their avoidance refuses to face, showing them that detachment doesn't equal freedom when peace disappears with you. The problem isn't just understanding that your absence impacts them, it's knowing how to use that absence strategically without either weakening your position by returning too quickly or losing the opportunity entirely by staying absent too long, because timing and response calibration determine whether absence leads to genuine change or just temporary panic that fades once they regulate. Most women either break their absence the moment the avoidant shows any sign of missing them, rushing back in with the same energy that allowed poor treatment before and proving that absence was just a tactic rather than genuine boundary, or they maintain complete absence so rigidly that when the avoidant finally breaks through their defenses and reaches out with genuine vulnerability, the opportunity for reconnection passes because the wall has become impenetrable. Understanding how to maintain powerful absence while remaining discerning about when genuine change has occurred versus when it's just temporary discomfort, knowing how to respond if they reach out in ways that honor your worth while testing whether real transformation has happened, is crucial because absence only creates lasting change if it's maintained long enough to force real reflection but responded to wisely when genuine growth appears. The difference between women who successfully use absence to create real change in avoidance and those who either cave too quickly or miss the window entirely often comes down to specific strategies for maintaining boundaries while remaining open to genuine transformation. Comment absence, and I'll reveal the 3 ways to maintain powerful absence that creates real change versus the 3 mistakes that either weaken your position or close the door permanently. Stage number 3. The memories become too loud. What if the breaking point intensifies through memories? The memories become too loud. Avoidants replay moments in quiet where the tone of your voice, your laughter, the softness loops when they least expect it, because they can no longer suppress the emotional significance of what they lost now that defenses are weakening. Think of memories like background noise that suddenly becomes foreground. Early after the breakup, they could push memories aside. But now, memories intrude without permission, playing on repeat, especially in quiet moments when defenses are down. Avoidants replay moments in quiet. Before sleep, during commutes, in empty moments throughout the day, specific memories resurface. The tone of your voice when you were gentle with them, your laughter at something they said, the softness in your eyes when you looked at them, moments of connection they took for granted. These aren't just factual memories, they're emotional memories. The feelings associated with those moments start breaking through the defensive walls. They remember how it felt to be seen by you, understood by you, cared for by you in ways no one else provided. The memories loop when they least expect it. A song, a smell, a place, a time of day. Random triggers bring you back into their awareness with intensity they can't control. The suppression isn't working anymore. You're present in their mind despite their attempts to move forward. This stage is particularly painful for avoidants because they pride themselves on emotional control. The fact that they can't control these memory intrusions, can't push them away, can't stop the replay. It reveals that their attachment to you was deeper than they wanted to admit. The memories becoming loud is their unconscious mind forcing them to face what their conscious mind tried to deny. That you mattered profoundly, that the connection was real and significant, that losing you actually hurts despite all their defenses against feeling that pain. Stage number 4. They realize you stopped trying. The 4th stage toward breaking point is when they realize you stopped trying. You're no longer explaining, no longer reaching out, and that shift from effort to silence becomes their wake-up call. Because your pursuit was something they could dismiss, but your absence is something they can't ignore. Think of this realization like losing a constant they took for granted. Your effort to reach them, explain yourself, maintain connection was background noise they barely acknowledged, but its absence creates deafening silence that forces recognition of what they lost. They realize you're no longer explaining. No more messages trying to make them understand your perspective. No more attempts to bridge the distance they created. No more emotional labor invested in making them see you. The explanations have stopped completely. You're no longer reaching out. The texts, calls, attempts at contact, all absent now. They went from being pursued to being completely alone in the silence. The shift is stark and undeniable. That shift from effort to silence becomes their wake-up call. When you were trying, they could tell themselves you were too much, too needy, too emotional. But now that you've stopped, they can't use those narratives anymore. Your silence proves you weren't the problem. They were. This realization is particularly powerful because it flips their entire framework. They expected you to keep trying indefinitely. Your stopping means they lost control of the narrative and the dynamic. You're no longer the pursuer they can dismiss. You're the person who walked away from them. The wake-up call is recognizing that your effort was actually love they took for granted, and your absence is the consequence of their mistreatment. They can't blame you for stopping anymore. They can only face that they caused it. From what I've seen, this stage is often when panic starts setting in because they realize they might actually lose you permanently, not just have you orbiting at a safe distance while they take space. Stage number 5. They notice peace without them. Here's when the breaking point intensifies dramatically. They notice peace without them. Seeing you move forward calmly shatters their illusion of control where they expected anger but got indifference. And that's what breaks them. Because indifference proves you've genuinely moved on rather than just pretending. Think of this stage like watching someone thrive in your absence when you expected them to crumble. Avoidants often unconsciously expect their ex-partners to remain emotionally devastated, waiting hopefully for their return. Your peace destroys that expectation. Seeing you move forward calmly through social media, mutual friends, or direct observation shatters their illusion of control. They thought they could leave and return at will, that you'd always be there waiting, that their power over the relationship was permanent. They expected anger. Anger would have been manageable, even preferable. Anger would mean you still cared intensely, that they still mattered, that they still had impact on your emotional state. Anger would give them power, but they got indifference. Calm forward movement. Peace. You're genuinely okay, not just performing okay. You've built a life without them. You've found peace they thought was impossible without them. This indifference is what breaks them. The indifference proves you've genuinely moved on rather than just pretending. Performed moving on would have cracks they could see, but genuine peace has no cracks. You're actually fine without them, maybe even better. This realization destroys avoidance because it means they lost their power and their safety net simultaneously. They can't control your emotional state anymore, and they can't assume you'll be available if they decide they want to come back. Your peace without them is the ultimate proof that they weren't as necessary as they thought and that you're stronger than they gave you credit for. Both realizations are devastating to their ego and their assumptions about the relationship dynamic. Stage number 6. Guilt turns into curiosity. What if guilt transforms into something more vulnerable? Guilt turns into curiosity. They start wondering how you felt while they were distant, and for the first time, empathy cracks through avoidance because they're finally able to step outside their self-protective narratives and actually consider your experience. Think of this stage like a perspective shift from self-focused to other-focused. Early stages were about their feelings, their relief, their discomfort. But now they're genuinely wondering about your experience for the first time. They start wondering how you felt while they were distant. What did their silence do to you? How did their withdrawal impact you emotionally? What was it like to love someone who kept pulling away? These questions arise with genuine curiosity rather than defensive dismissal. For the first time, empathy cracks through avoidance. Their usual self-protective mechanisms that keep them from feeling others' pain start breaking down. They can actually imagine your perspective, feel your hurt, understand the damage they caused. This empathy is significant because avoidants typically suppress empathy as part of their defensive structure. Feeling others' pain would require them to change their behavior or feel guilty, so they numb empathy through detachment. Its return signals major defensive breakdown. The curiosity about your experience reveals they're ready to face uncomfortable truths about themselves. They're no longer protecting their ego through narratives that minimize their impact. They're genuinely trying to understand what they put you through. This stage is when remorse becomes real rather than abstract. It's no longer, I feel bad about the breakup. It's, I understand now how much I hurt you and what my avoidance cost you emotionally. The specificity and empathy make the guilt concrete. From what I've seen, this empathy stage is when avoidants sometimes reach out with genuine apologies rather than breadcrumbs, because they're actually able to acknowledge specific harm they caused rather than just vaguely missing you. Stage number 7. Their defense mechanisms stop working. The 7th stage toward complete breaking point is when their defense mechanisms stop working. The stories they told themselves, like they were too emotional or I needed space, stop feeling true, because reality has intruded too forcefully for self-protective narratives to hold up anymore. Think of defense mechanisms like a dam that's been holding back water. Small cracks appeared in earlier stages, but now the whole structure is failing. The stories that protected them from guilt and loss no longer convince even them. The stories they told themselves after the breakup all start falling apart. They were too emotional doesn't hold up when they realize your emotions were reasonable responses to their behavior. I needed space rings hollow when space brought emptiness rather than relief. The relationship was too much feels false when they realize the relationship was actually what made life bearable. These defensive narratives stop feeling true because accumulated evidence contradicts them. Every memory of your patience, every realization of how hollow life feels without you, every moment of recognizing their peace is actually loneliness. All of it dismantles the stories they use to justify ending things. This collapse of defenses is psychologically destabilizing for avoidants because these narratives were protection against overwhelming guilt and grief. Without them, they're flooded with emotions they've been avoiding: regret, loss, loneliness, recognition of their role in destroying something valuable. The defense mechanism failure is their breaking point because they can no longer hide from reality. They must face that they made a mistake, that they hurt someone who loved them, that they destroyed something they actually needed and wanted. This stage is often accompanied by crisis because avoidants don't handle defense collapse well. They've spent their lives building these protective stories. Without them, they're vulnerable to emotions they have no practice managing. Stage number 8. They start comparing. Here's when the breaking point becomes concrete. They start comparing. No matter who they meet, the connection feels shallow next to the depth they ran from, because surface interactions with new people highlight exactly what made you different and irreplaceable. Think of comparison like a measuring stick that shows them what they lost. Every new interaction, every new person, every attempt to move forward gets measured against what they had with you, and nothing measures up. No matter who they meet, the connection feels shallow. New people might be attractive, interesting, available, but the emotional depth, understanding, and connection don't exist. Every interaction feels surface level compared to what you provided. The comparison is particularly painful when they meet people who should theoretically be better matches, people who are more emotionally available, less demanding, easier to be with. But even these better matches feel empty because they're not you. This reveals what they were running from wasn't actually problems with you, but intimacy itself. The depth they ran from is exactly what they miss now. They ran from the very thing that made the relationship meaningful, special, and irreplaceable. The comparisons force recognition that you weren't replaceable. They can find other relationships, other people, other connections, but they can't find another you, the specific way you understood them, loved them, saw them. That's gone and can't be recreated with anyone else. This stage is when many avoidants realize they made a catastrophic mistake because they're facing empirical evidence that what they walked away from was rare and valuable, not too much or problematic. From what I've seen, the comparison stage is when avoidants most commonly reach out because the contrast between what they have now and what they had with you becomes unbearable. Stage number 9. They reread old messages. The final stage of their breaking point is when they reread old messages. Avoidants relive emotional safety through memory when they can't access you in real time, because scrolling through past conversations is their way of trying to touch something they destroyed, seeking comfort in evidence of what they lost. Think of rereading messages like visiting a place that no longer exists. The words are there, but the reality they represented is gone. This combination of presence and absence is both comforting and devastating. Avoidants relive emotional safety through memory when they can't access you in real time. They scroll through old conversations, looking for the feeling of being understood, accepted, cared for. The messages provide temporary relief from the emptiness. They reread the kind things you said, the moments you understood them, the times you were patient with their avoidance. All of it hits differently now. What they took for granted while they had it becomes precious in retrospect. This behavior reveals how deep their regret has become. They're seeking connection through digital remnants because the real connection is gone. They're trying to feel close to you through words on a screen because their behavior destroyed the actual closeness. The rereading also serves as self-punishment. Every kind word, every moment of patience, every expression of love reminds them of what they destroyed. They're torturing themselves with evidence of your love and their failure to value it. This final stage represents complete breaking point because they're no longer in denial, no longer defending, no longer pretending they don't care. They're actively seeking reminders of you because the loss has become unbearable. From what I've seen, this is when avoidants most desperately want to reach out, when they craft messages they don't send, when they hover over your contact information, unable to decide whether to break silence or respect your peace.